When the economic shockwaves of the Great Depression began to rattle the world, startling ideological and political changes were also taking place. The ingredients that resulted in an aggressive, militaristic government in Japan and in repressive, nationalistic dictators in Italy and Germany were already in place. Each leader was bent on adding resource-rich territory to his country by whatever means necessary. Why did the people in those countries allow their democratically elected governments to be pushed aside for dictators and militaristic regimes? After the Central Powers surrendered in the fall of 1918, the Treaty of Versailles imposed reparations on Germany to reimburse France and Britain for war damages. Both Italy and Japan expected to receive land as compensation for their war efforts with the Allies during the war. Italy sought land along the Adriatic coast, but the peace treaty didn't award any. Instead, Italy faced high unemployment for returning soldiers, and the Italian government was unprepared for the post-war recession that followed. To counter communist organizers, Benito Mussolini founded the Italian Fascist Party in 1921. Italians rallied around his message of opposing communism and socialism, and of embracing Italian nationalism and future glory. Within a few years after forming a government in 1922, Mussolini had stripped away individual and political freedoms and began ruling Italy as a dictator. Japan, meanwhile, had also received no land compensation in the Treaty of Versailles. An island nation, Japan was dependent on the imports of natural resources for its industries. After the war, Japan's economy began to stall, but it was the damage to the economy from the Great Depression that undermined the faith in civilian leadership. Military leaders, traditionally powerful in Japan, stepped into the political void and focused their attention on China's natural resources. This period of militarism culminated with Japan's invasion of China in 1937. Economic hardships hit Germany hard as well. During the late 1920s, Germany's twin economic crises, raging unemployment and spiraling inflation, set the stage for the rise of the Nazi Party. The Nazis were fueled by deep prejudice against Jews, as expressed in Adolf Hitler's autobiography, Mein Kampf. Hitler and the Nazis swept into power in 1933, and soon Hitler began to take away individual and political freedoms. Complaints about mistreatment of minorities were muted as shuttered German war factories reopened and hungry unemployed laborers were put back to work. The United States was hit hard by the Great Depression, but unlike those countries, had a strong democracy in place. Its stable government took action to jumpstart the economy and provided a safety net for the unemployed with a variety of relief projects. An extraordinarily bad economy and the desire to build an empire created the right conditions for militaristic governments and nationalistic dictators in the 1920s and 1930s. What might people in Germany, Japan, or Italy have done to prevent those kinds of governments from forming?